Good morning. I'd like to talk to you all about something that just came up, something Trump said. And I like Trump. I don't know if he's going to turn out to be as good as everybody's hoping he will be. I think Trump's got a few things to learn. Either that or he's just kind of laying low and saying the things that needs to be said so he can become president. But one of the things that he just said is disturbing to me is that it would be a hate crime to threaten a cop, and it would be a capital punishment for killing a cop. Well, the only way I can look at that and interpret that is no matter what, if you kill a cop, you're going to be executed, whether you're right or wrong or whatever. And that's really as a bad precedent to set. The badge doesn't grant extra rights. It just doesn't. They're citizens just like everybody else. And the last thing we need is another privileged class of people. And we already have too many of those already. So I really do hope that, it's just some rhetoric that's been put out there. Another thing is, you got the PR groups working for the police, and you got the PR groups working for the Black Lives Matter, and nobody's right if everybody's wrong. All right, everybody's life matters. I don't care who it is. And but when you just got the police just all on one side, like they do nothing wrong, there's no credibility there. Same thing with Black Lives Matter. They're doing the same thing. The police are all wrong and they're all right. You got to find that middle ground, because the pendulum swings. You've heard that, the pendulum swings. And it gains inertia and it goes too far the other way. And I kind of see that happening right now. If, if these protesters get crushed, which there's already some things that have taken place, and, because what happens is, oh, we got chaos, we got to have martial law, let's bring in the National Guard, and it goes too far the other way. And then there's a lot of innocent people who get caught up in it and find themselves either in prison or dead. That's why I say everybody's just got to take a step back and take another look at this thing. Okay? That's why I tell the police, you guys have got to get on board with constitutional law. There's way too many egregious violations of the people's rights. And this is what you get. Eventually, this is what you'll get. And you get this pent-up emotion undercurrent throughout society where police are not trusted. Law enforcement's not trusted. The judges aren't trusted. And people start getting boxed in. They start getting cornered. And what happens when you corner people? What happens when you corner a wild animal? They react. They come out violent because they don't know what else to do. And we're living in the information age, and everybody's got a camera phone, Mr. Police Officer, and you're going to get caught every time you do these things. And it seems like it's routine. It's like every single day that somebody's rights are getting violated. There's a new one that I just watched this morning. It takes place in Nevada, Lincoln County, Nevada, where this couple are in court and they're recording the proceedings. When they get done, they walk out. The judge tells the sheriff, go arrest those people. And then you have and that's the way the video clip starts off. You have this dialogue going between this young couple, and I should say couple, and they are fairly young, with the sheriff. And he's backed up there with a police officer, a local police officer. And the sheriff is totally ignorant of the law. And there's another gentleman there who's trying to give him a copy of the law. And the sheriff threatens him. He threatens him with trespassing. He tells him he'll be thrown in jail also. That is, I can't even put in words how bad that is. Okay? Now somebody's going to come up, well, if you want to record, or if you want a recording of what takes place in the court, because they have cameras in the court, well, just get a copy of that. Oh yeah, well now you got to hire an attorney. Okay, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars. You got to subpoena that recording, and you might get it in 6 months, and it might not be edited. You see what I'm saying? It's garbage. Plus, the law allows you to do that in a public place. So here we have this couple. The husband gets arrested by the sheriff. And what is the sheriff? The sheriff doesn't have an arrest warrant. He doesn't have an arrest warrant. And when he's asked, where's the arrest warrant? He goes, I don't need one. This is what gets cops shot over a period of time. Wake up. This is infuriating. When you do stuff like that, at that point in time, you're outside of the scope of your constitutional mandate, Sheriff. You have just become an armed and dangerous felon. And that individual had every right to resist your illegal, unconstitutional arrest with whatever means he had. Well, the guy didn't have a gun, okay? And it would have turned out ugly, guaranteed. I don't know if it's worth somebody's life. Maybe he'll be able to win it in a court. Maybe yes, maybe not. But let's say he does, okay? And it gets paid off like so many other times. They sue the county, sue the city, and they get a big settlement, you know, and he's paid off. And that's exactly the way I look at it, because you just set a precedent that is harmful to everybody else, because not everybody else is willing to take it that far. And how many times you keep setting these precedences before you have lost your rights? You are selling out when you accept the money, the settlement. You are selling out. And I'm afraid that's exactly what's going to happen with the murder of Jack Yannis up there in Idaho. Now, this thing happened in November of last year, I believe it is. So we're like getting close to something like 8 months, maybe it's October of last year. And it's been investigated all this time, and it's been sealed, and it's been handed from the local law enforcement, the sheriff, to the Idaho Police Department, to the FBI. Why? Why? Because everybody's afraid to touch it. Why? Because of the police unions, and now you got Blue Lives Matter, because they don't want to be on record as going after these police officers. Because the evidence is overwhelming. They murdered Jack Yantis. So here we go again. Are we going to read about this 2 years down the road in some little back article on the back page of the New York Times where the family has settled? I hope not. You know, there needs to be criminal charges against police officers that step outside the scope of their constitutional mandate. Police officers and sheriffs, you step outside the scope of your constitutional mandate, you should have criminal charges filed against you. The badge does not give you extra rights. You are not a privileged class of citizens in the United States. You are hired to do a professional job. You are public servants. You are hired to do a job professionally. It's very simple. And if you can't do the job, you don't belong in that position. Your bond should be taken away, and you should be prosecuted any time you step outside of that scope. And I just see this getting worse and worse. You know, I want to go on record and saying, you know, all lives do matter. Police lives matter. Black lives matter. White people's lives matter. Everybody's life matters. But you're getting this division where ultimately what you're going to end up having is you're going to have some special classification of citizens. Now, in this case, the police officers. And it gets ridiculous after a while. Instead of just treating everybody the same, see, we all live under the same Constitution. We all have the same Bill of Rights. Nobody's privileged. Nobody's better off or better than anybody else. The fact of the matter is, there comes a time that everybody has the right to protect themselves, because these things have a tendency to get worse and worse over a period of time. At what time does a citizen, okay, at what time does a citizen use every means in their disposal to resist an unlawful, illegal, unconstitutional arrest? Or at what time? Are we going to end up just like Communist Russia was, and Communist China, and East Berlin, and you know, all these countries that were never democratic or republic, but were under a king, tyranny, and people, I mean, we are digressing to that point. And here's probably what will happen. We'll continue to digress until we have total chaos, till we have complete anarchy. All right? And then all of a sudden they declare martial law. That's why I say anarchy and martial law go hand in hand. Because the powers that be are not going to lose their position. They will declare martial law before that happens. So I mean, at what point? I mean, everybody has the right to protect themselves. At what point does a citizen have the right to resist arrest with whatever means what are at their disposal? I maintain you always have that right. But as you know, the Declaration of Independence says that we will, as long as these egregious violations of our rights are sufferable, we will suffer. You know, people just don't want to go down that road. They don't want to be violent like that. But your narcissistic powers that be certainly do, and they'll push you, and they'll continue to push you till you reach that breaking point. And I maintain we're very, very close to these egregious violations of our rights being unsufferable, that we can't suffer them any longer, that we need to take a step and put a stop to it. And at that point, it's going to really get ugly. And I don't want to see us reach that point. And that's why I'm saying the police, you've got to police your own. You've got to get rid of your unions, because the only thing those unions are doing is protecting the bad cops that you have. All right? And all the protesters, you need to identify provocateur agents. You need to isolate them and turn them over to law enforcement, because they're inciting you to violence. And they're not your friend. You might think they're your friend. They are not your friend, I promise. They're going to just get you in trouble. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.